So we met here in 1999.
Yes, that's correct.
So, which I think I would quite like to write a book, not the next book we're writing, but the next one that we have talked about it.
Okay. So this is not part of the talk at all.
But I'd like to write a book that's set in 1999, and we want it to end like on Millennium Eve.
Right.
So that's kind of like a Latymer book we want to write, but that's actually not set now, but that's set in the 90s, and that follows that lower sixth year, and kind of echoes our lower sixth year.
Yeah.
So that's something we want to do in the future. So we were here then, and when we were here, I think I was the 3rd or 4th intake of girls.
Yeah.
So, well, you can talk about
Yeah,
girls
yeah. Well,
coming.
it was. Yeah, it's very strange for us seeing younger girls now, because it used to be just a boys' school, and then girls came in the sixth form about the time when we were around. But yeah, so we met here, and I suppose the reason we thought it would be interesting to come back is because a lot of our books, well, we've only written 2, but our 2 books are very much set, not so much in Latimer, but around the time the first book we wrote was set in that summer between. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Between kind of finishing A-levels and then either going to university or going on a gap year and that kind of thing. This is some embarrassing photographic proof that we have known each other for a long time.
Yeah, so that book, Lobsters, is massively set at Latymer, to the extent that it's almost named. It's not named. Have we got a just?
No, it isn't named.
I think in one draft of the book it was named.
Yeah, but a lot of our mates who we were mates with at Latymer and are still mates with now are in the book and have their real names in it, which some of them like and some of them are not pleased about at all. So that would be some initial advice, just change people's names.
Yeah, if
when
you're going to write a book
about
about people, definitely consider not using their real name.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy here?
Yes, sorry,
So
yeah.
I was going to read.
So we're going to give you, this is like a little taster from the first book of just how sort of...
Don't worry, I'm not going to read for a long time. It's quite boring hearing people read. Okay, so this is one of Hannah's chapters, and it's quite near the end of the book. And it's something, so when we were writing it, I had I still am best friends with this girl called Vicky, who I met at Latymer. And she used to get really hysterical about doing the last time you were going to do something. So like, this is the last time we're going to have lunch at Latymer. This is the last time we're going to do this. This is the last time we're ever going to walk down King Street. And she was obsessed with it. So when I wrote this scene, I imagined her. On the way back from the cinema, the train broke down at Ravenscourt Park and everyone had to get off. Stella and I walked to the end of the platform where we had stood every day after school since we were 11. We sat on our bench. We'll probably never be at this station again. Stella rolled her eyes. That is such a you thing to say. Well, why would we? The only thing that's here is school. And so we wrote this, and I think in the first draft there was a whole paragraph that talks about Latymer, which they then took out because they were like, it's only relevant to you. So yeah, when we wrote this, we constantly talked about Latymer, and we spoke to everyone we knew, and I actually kept a diary. I don't know if you kept a diary. Did you keep a diary ever?
I'm afraid not, no.
Okay. So I kept a diary and I reread all my diary, and is this going to work? Oh, yeah. And we found all these kind of pictures of us. So that there used to be a place where you could take pictures at Ravenscourt Park, and everyone used to take pictures. There's still a photo thing there. Everyone used to take pictures, like you'd go there, like people were in there every day taking pictures with their mates and taking pictures. So we took that there. That's me and Vicky, who Stella is sort of based on in the book.
That's my English history book, just to prove that's a real school photo. Yeah. I think that actually is taken in the atrium of the Arts Centre, yeah. Which used to be, I don't know if it still is, but that used to be the cool place to hang out. Is that still the case?
She's like, no.
No.
No. Yeah, it was just built. I think the year I arrived, it had just been built, so that was kind of like the cool place, and we all used to hang around there. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's other things. We were going to tell you kind of 3 things, key bits in the book for each of us, some things that happened at Latymer that were literally transposed in the exact same thing into Lobsters.
Yeah, we had things like, you guys I guess are a bit too young for this to be thinking about this, but we had like the day of our A-level results, we had to come into school, and I think it was is the ABC block still here? Yeah. Okay, right, so that was where we went. I was too scared to open it with everyone else, so me and Lucy went to the ABC block and kind of hid under the stairwell
and opened each other's A-level results. So we swapped A-level results and like opened them and read them to each other. So we tried, I think when we were writing it, we wanted to go back and like stand there and remember it, but we couldn't get in. Like I remember thinking I wanted to go back and look at it, but we couldn't. So that was, and that's the thing, so the A-level results day is a big thing in the book. And then another thing in the book is I had this friend Yasmina, who in the beginning of the lower sixth, her parents went away for their wedding anniversary, and she had a party, and like so many people came to this party that she had, and even she kind of couldn't control the number of people coming to her party. And this girl Rosie, who was at Latymer as well, her parents had this really ancient Egyptian pot. It was like a big pot, and Rosie climbed into it to see if she could fit into it, and the bottom of the pot broke. So me and all these people, like all these Latymer people, basically glued it back together with chewing gum. And I went back to that house about 3 years ago, and I looked in it, and it has not moved from the place in the house, and it is still glued back together with chewing gum. And that party kind of bookends, so there's 2 parties in the book, and the first one is based on that party.
Yeah, a lot of there were 2 big parties in the book, and a lot of the things that happened in that were real Latymer era house party things, or things we'd heard people talk about. There are even things that, unfortunately this won't mean anything to you, but there was a couple of teachers that we took from Latymer and even used their real names. This guy called Mr. Flynn. Mr. Flynn's not still here, is he? Yes. Is he? The art teacher. No, he was an English teacher. God, that was terrifying for a second. Because I thought, anyway, he's gone. It's a different guy. Yeah, okay, it's not. But it was, I mean, aesthetic. I remember he was quite a short guy, and he had a kind of very well maintained sort of David Brent-esque goatee beard, and like really slick back hair. So it's not the same guy, is it? Good, excellent news. But he's in our new book, name and appearance and everything. So that's another quite sort of key tip, was we just thought there were things that teachers that made us laugh when we were here and made our mates laugh. So when we came to writing it, we thought, well, we don't see why it wouldn't make other people laugh as well. So we just used them wholesale. Yeah. And when we started the lower sixth, so we met each other in A-level history. And because it was when girls had only just joined, the boys basically didn't sit with us. So it was a 100% segregated class. That's true.
So like you'd go in and the girls would sit on one side and the boys would sit on the other side, and that never changed, and we never sat together the whole 2 years. It was like completely segregated. So we presume that that is not how it is now.
Yeah,
no.
This is proof of it.
In most classes, it is quite simple. In our class,
teachers do see
Oh, really?
Really?
Interesting.
Wow, okay.
I'm trying to think. And then other Latymer things in the book, the parties. I went on holiday with 19 girls from Latymer after we finished our A-levels. We all went to Kavos. I don't recommend doing that at all. If you're thinking...
Unless it's just you're going to put it straight in a book, just how awful it was.
Yeah, it was... Everyone fell out with each other. You know, there was so many tears. 2 people had to fly home early. It was just like an absolute catalogue of disasters. So, but that was, again, something that we just took that had happened to us and just put it in the book. The whole thing is just, as it happened in Kavos, pretty much, is in the book.
Yeah.
do you fill in gaps for each other of things that you forgot?
Yeah, I personally feel that you have a really bad memory.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, all right.
I 100% feel that.
It's turning into like a strange therapy sort of session.
No, because there's many times where I'll be like, do you remember? And then I'll list a thing that definitely happened. For instance, I said to Tom recently, do you remember when we went to the prom and I had a dress that I bought from designers at Debenhams that was a copy of a Victoria Beckham dress that she wore, and it was like a weird flamenco. It had like a slit up to here and all these flamenco things, and I was like, do you remember that? And you said?
Well, I don't. Perhaps I blocked it out from perhaps it's been a kind of like Vietnam War thing where you just kind of try and, you know.
So I feel like you don't remember that much.
No,
I
that's true.
I remember many specific things that you don't remember.
But it's it was definitely when we came to writing, because we thought it'd be interesting to write about that period where when you're 17, 18 and you're suddenly leaving school and you're thinking, this is quite terrifying now, I've got to decide what I'm going to do with my life. So we did speak to a lot of our old Latymer mates basically about getting stories, getting little jokes and things that we used. Because a lot of the dialogue was just real things, stupid things that people said in class, or in, you know.
And I think people make out like you forget the things that happen to you at school, and like somehow it's like you're young and things that happen to you later on become more significant. But I don't know if I think that's true. I think it's a really defined time of your life, and that it's quite heightened, and that you don't forget it, and that those things, and actually remembering things in my 20s I think is harder than remembering stuff that happened to us. And so I think that is something in terms of you being a creative writing group and writing, like you should write everything down and like think about it, and you know, because I think keeping a diary for me is massively something that I look back on it and I can't believe like the things I wrote and just how much pressure I put on myself. I just think it's absolutely bonkers. Like I was always writing to-do lists, like really intense. Like I don't know if anyone here writes to-do lists. Do you write a to-do list? What kind of things is on your to-do list?
Do this and in this order, make this, then do this.
Yeah, and I just look back and I'm like, whoa, I was like 17. What was I thinking? Like mine would be like, get up, run 3 miles, and then I never did it. So I was instantly a failure. It was like, get up, run 3 miles with Vicky and Laura. We never did that. We never did that one time. I can't remember one time doing it. Yeah, it was on my to-do list for the whole of the sixth form. And then it was like, you know, yeah, do this homework, finish it all, get up at this time, do this. And I look back and I'm like, I had no idea that I just don't remember being that person who was so tough on myself and like, yeah, I don't know. So I think that's something.
That also made it into the book sort of wholesale, because basically for both of our books are kind of dual narratives. So there's a boy protagonist and a girl protagonist, and I write the boy and Lucy writes the girl. And the girl in Lobsters is kind of every chapter will start with a thing of, you know, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. So that kind of made it in.
And I think you forget that happens almost, that's something that, and I think also what it made me realise is how stressful school is in terms of homework and having to do things. Because when I look back on it, it's all this like massive thing about getting my A-level results and it being okay, and this huge weight of like coursework and mocks, and then it's that classic thing that you do it and then you forget how stressful it was. Almost immediately you forget that it took over your whole life, and the thought that and I have a vivid memory of being in your house. You probably don't remember this.
Yeah, probably have no idea.
But being in Tom's house in Chiswick, in his parents' house, and your mum saying to you, holding up your Latymer report and saying, they're saying you're going to get a C for French. A C for French, Tommy, a C for French. And you were like, and we were so stressed. And
I just want to say I got a B in the end, so don't want to go on about it, but.
So yeah, but I don't think we remember now.
Yes.
What an intense kind of thing that was.
This is a play that I wrote with my friend Robin, who's in Lobsters, and that's me on the second left.
And that is me in some pink snakeskin trousers.
And that's Lucy rocking the 1999 look.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just more of a kind of thing of we got interested in creative writing at Latymer, kind of doing stuff like doing plays and doing short stories and stuff. So yeah, this was just a little nod to how good a place it was for.
Yeah, we used to do loads of writing. We were saying we don't think this happens here now, but we used to do this thing where it was like a soap opera, and people used to write it on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, and then it got performed to everyone on a Friday. Yeah. And it was like about the school. No. So like kids would.
It was good actually.
Yeah, but it was like.
Yeah, you should.
You should. But it was really good though, because it was basically like all the gossip, but then it was turned into a soap opera, and people would play the teachers, and it was really, really good.
Yeah, because actually it was things like you've just been told. It would be like something happened in class this week that was really everyone was laughing about, so people would just slightly fictionalise it, so it would be set in a pub or something, I don't know. And basically people would know who would be playing the real people.
But it was good because actually it kind of mirrored how you write a TV show. Like when I look now, how you know, it's like you had a deadline, you had to write the script by the end of Wednesday, so that on Thursday the people who were going to be in it could rehearse it, and then it was on lunchtime on a Friday. And so I think we were very encouraged to write in collaboration, which is probably why it wasn't weird for us to write a book together, because we'd already kind of done that and got used to doing that while we were at Latymer. This is a bit about how we write a book, which as you can see is not very planned. When this is actually how we wrote Lobsters. So this is the actual piece of paper. We were at Tom's house and we just thought of some things that happened to us the summer we did our A-levels, which is we went to lots of parties. I went on that holiday to Cavos where everyone fell out with each other. We did our A-levels.
Work experience.
You did work experience, and we went to a festival.
Yeah.
So we just thought, actually, if you have those polls, those kind of markings along the way in what you want to write, and we knew there was going to be a big party to celebrate A-levels being over, and we knew that there was going to be a party on the day of results. So we kind of knew that the period of time the book was going to be set over, and we knew what was kind of the things that would happen along the way. And that's all we really started with. But having a contained time frame is a good way of trying to write something. Just thinking it's going to happen over, because that's what, 8 weeks max?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice, because you think if you don't have that, you can kind of just keep rambling on and on for as long as you want. Whereas we quite like the idea that you've got, like, day you finish A-levels to the day you get your A-level results, and then all the stuff that happens in between that. And that, so that was just literally about, like, I mean, those just formed the basis for, like, there's 15 chapters in the book, and that was kind of 2 or 3 chapters each per bit. And that seemed quite a nice way to break it down, actually, because then it made it seem less daunting. You thought, right, well, the first party, that'll be 3 or 4 chapters, then we'll move on to the festival and the work experience and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then
Why is it called Lobsters?
Well,
It
wasn't. We thought it had a great name.
Well, no, it's good. Do you watch Friends still?
Yes.
Right. So you know there's that bit where Phoebe says Ross and Rachel are lobsters.
Yeah.
Do you know that bit? Yeah. So anyway, the girls in the book are like obsessed with...
They have a door. So in one of the girls at the girl seller's house, they have a door, and every time they fancy someone and they think it's like their life partner, they write their name in nail polish on the door, and it's like their lobster door. So, but we had like, honestly, me and Tom have massive problems naming books. We just can't think of names at all.
No, it was more because we thought Lobsters was really good, but then about 2 weeks before it was supposed to be printed, genuinely, it was only about that.
Oh, yeah.
I googled, do lobsters
and
actually
Tom had this nervous breakdown.
Yeah, it was bad. Because basically, the whole, as you will remember from Friends, she says lobster because lobsters mate for life. So it's like, that's why he's the one. And then I googled it, and actually that's nonsense. Lobsters don't mate for life. So I got really panicked, and I was like, we can't call a book that.
But he rang me and he was like, oh my God, like, everything's ruined. We're going to have to ring them. The books had already been printed. He was like, we're going to have to ring them. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
No, what I did first was that I googled what animals do mate for life. But they're the least romantic animals you can imagine. It's like parasites called, like, you know, schistosomozoa worms. And like, there was like, I think eagles or something. Eagles was all right. Yeah.
Swans is the famous one, but...
Yeah. Do swans... Is that another myth? I don't know. Anyway.
So, yeah, that was a big thing.
Whales do. Penguins do. That's a penguin.
Penguins is true, because there's the March of the Penguins. But then the March of the Penguins already done it. Exactly.
What was that?
Orcas. Killer whales.
Orcas. You could have called it orcas.
Killer Whales definitely says romantic
Killer
comedy.
Whales says romantic comedy. Yeah. But
then actually it worked out quite well then, because we added genuinely about, like we say, 2 weeks before it was supposed to print, we added an extra chapter where the myth got debunked within the girls. But the girls have always been talking about, like, who's your lobster? You know, you're going to be with him for life. And then one of their friends is kind of studying biology or something, is like, do you know that's actually not true at all? And that became quite a nice chapter, actually. So it worked out.
But you don't like a socially awkward love story, do you?
I don't mind. That's the sub.
Then we couldn't think of a sub. Basically, the whole naming thing we're just really bad at.
Yeah.
So, and they always think you're going to be really good at it, and they're like, yeah, you know, just. But then what you find out is then they publish your book all abroad, and it's called completely different things in every country. So it's about to come out in the States, and it's called A Totally Awkward Love Story.
Why do they always do that? I wish they would just, if it's the same language, just call it Lobsters.
But you know, they've translated it for America. It's completely translated. All the slang is translated.
I wouldn't want them to do that.
Yeah, it was. It's true. Yeah.
Can't you put your foot down and say it's called Lobsters?
You should be our agent, really.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
She told us, our editor in New York told us that in the States they do not like surreal, kooky titles. No. They do not like surreal, kooky titles. apparently.
But it was also like the thing about the slang was interesting because it's still, in the American version, it's still set in London and they talk about pounds and pence and they talk about English stuff, but they all call each other like douchebag and, you know,
Yeah,
like
it's weird.
so they had to change all the English swear words and things.
Yeah, it's weird.
Exactly. And I thought that was the appeal of it as well.
They can't. When Transpotting came out in America, it had subtitles.
Really? Really?
So funny.
Well, we used to get...
I want to see the subtitles.
yeah.
How funny. Yeah. So we don't know. We've got no idea what's going to happen when it comes out there because it's so weird to do that, but we don't know.
But also, yeah.
Go on, what's
So Brenda and I were writing a book together, but we can't like settle on like when we fight, we like can't choose like what to do. Like so we have like this argument about like what to go in the book. How did you guys like? Did you have any of them?
Well, we do have some arguments.
We do, yeah, that's a good question.
Tom does this thing
Go on.
where he writes something that I personally don't find funny. So he writes a joke, like a really laddie joke, and then finds it hilarious and reads it out and it's like, and I'm like, that isn't funny. And he says the same thing every time. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
He says the same thing every time, which is, no, Lux, I promise you it is funny. I'm like, that doesn't make it funny. That's just you saying, I promise you it's funny.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. I still don't think it's funny. So, yeah, we do disagree. Tom thinks I put too much cheesy stuff in.
That's true. It's more, it was easy because I don't know how you and your friend did it, but we did it as like, bit like a game of, like an elaborate game of consequences where like, we wouldn't really know, like I say, like, that genuinely was all we had, really. And we knew it kind of would be about people trying to lose their virginity and that kind of stuff. Yeah, actually, that's quite good. So this is a real email that we sent during it where Lucy had just sent me the Kavos chapter and I didn't know what was going to happen in it, and I thought that the girl, her sort of female protagonist would be thinking about my guy protagonist and be like all moony-eyed over him, and Lucy just introduced this like really attractive new boy called Pax who she just fell in love with and forgot about my guy. So I was slightly offended and I was like, you know, what's going on here? I've just read this. Yeah, well, since when does Hannah get off with Pax? She can't do that, can she? And Lucy's like, well, she's done it now, so you're gonna have to deal with it. So that was quite a fun way to write because you'd be like, you're slightly annoyed that it happened, and you're like, well, I better just respond in my chapter with, you know, I'll introduce Panda or whatever.
As retaliation.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but it's good. I think it's good sometimes to have that with someone else because it's almost like having an editor before it's gone to your editor because it's someone saying, I don't like this, or you know, that's really cheesy. And Tom always says, you know, boys don't really talk like that. Why is he talking like that? I always make all my boys talk like Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. Yeah. And he's like, that person doesn't actually exist. So
yeah, we do always
ridiculous.
have to, if a girl talks in my chapters, Lucy will have to write the dialogue to that, and if a boy talks in her chapters, I'll do it. But yeah, it's a good way to, how do you do it then? How do you send them?
Kind of just we have like a chapter plan and then we each like write the chapters separately and then we send them to each other to change them. But like obviously because like her work is too cheesy and like she was like too depressing.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of the old cheese. That's me and him.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Depressing over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing because when people read it, it means there's something for everyone. So, you know, I wouldn't worry about that. It's good to have two voices and it's good to, and then people, you know, different people respond to different things and, you know, that's fine.
Should we, do we
hang
read
on, this is something in the book is this chat about, where I used to teach in my old school in Hounslow. They were once passing something around the class and you know the way you do when you're a teacher, you like take it. And I was like...
Not a Latymer, you just get a board rubber.
Yeah, at Latymer you just get a hairbrush.
Go outside with a load of plastic balls and shell the building.
So I picked it up and it was basically a marauder's map that identified where this boy, the official fittest boy in West London, was at any time of the day. And I was like, whoa, this is the most intense thing I've ever seen. What is this? And they all got really hysterical. And then they basically told me that they'd pieced together where the fittest boy in West London was. They'd just like spent 8 months documenting his whereabouts, and then they could just look at it at any time and know where he was. And I was like,
yeah,
that's
actually,
they were in year 10, and I saw them. They're at university now, and I saw this girl, Shanice Wilson, in boots, and I mentioned it to her, and she was like, Miss, please don't bring that up. And I was like, I will never forget that, just so you know. I will never forget that. And I had it up in our English office for ages, because I thought it was the most brilliant thing in the world. So,
That's not in there completely randomly, by the way. That's because mainly like Lucy was teaching while we were writing it as well, so she was like teaching girls about the same age, right? Like 17, 18, about the same age as the characters we were writing. So she was getting a lot of...
And they used to tell me, you know, all the things that happened to them. Like in the book, there's an awful bit where it's this girl's birthday, and I taught this lovely girl called Roz, and she spoke about her 18th birthday party. Every single lesson I had, they used to have this book, and all they would do is like cut out pictures of stuff she was going to wear and how it was going to look, and it was never ending about her 18th birthday party. Finally, the 18th birthday party happened. She came in on Monday, and I was like, "Hey, Roz, how was it?" And she said, "I don't want to talk about it." And I was like, and basically 20 minutes into the party, the boy she fancied vomited all over her, actually all over her, to the extent that her mum had to go home and like come back and like with another dress and like so yeah. So that's in the book. That's in the book. So with her permission, and now she finds it hilarious that her 18th is immortalised. Yeah, this will take too long to explain. You can just look at that and wonder what it is. So
we get loads of people in trouble.
Thanks
very much for coming.